Hi, my name is Trevor Birney. I'm co-director of Inez Challenging Woman.
I'm Vinny McCormack, Inez's husband of 43 years.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for talking to me today. So what motivated you to tell this story now in this particular moment?
Well, I think probably from a personal perspective I could identify with Inez in that my own life has taken a similar journey, and coming from a very conservative unionist background, and having in that same sort of awakening moment where the world looked very different to the one that I grew up in, a very rural part of the north of Ireland. So that immediately, when I started to unpick and understand more and more about Inez's story, that made it very attractive. And the fact, just as we've heard upstairs, is that she is an unsung hero. She is an awkward voice. She is one of those people who've made a tremendous difference. But unfortunately, there's a legacy left with Inez, and that is that there's still so much that needs to be done. A lot of the work that is that she was involved when that voice is gone, and there isn't a replacement for Inez McCormack. There are many others who are out there saying the similar sort of things, but that clarion voice that Inez had, that made people sit up and take notice of the inequalities and the work that's still to be achieved as a result of the Good Friday Agreement, that meant that there was something that is very contemporary and still resonates, and that there's still a very important message to get out about this documentary. So all those things together, but first and foremost, when I heard the news that Inez wasn't very well, but really wanted to take that truly heroic step of giving a last final interview, which we knew was going to be incredibly emotional, particularly for Susan McKay, her close friend who conducted the interview. We knew it wasn't going to be very easy, but once we knew that we had to keep going and make some sort of attempt to try to capturing Inez's life.
And I think you did a wonderful job of doing that, at least from the audience perspective. So much of what was portrayed is part of your shared history, being your husband for so long. How was it going back on that and reliving that?
Well, I think that the film indicates that at a point when we were both still very young, our lives took a particular direction, and that direction was framed by the civil rights movement in Northern Ireland and all that followed from that. And Inez, in the course of the film, indicates that she was, at that stage, a puzzled Protestant. But what really marked her out and what really changed her development was her experience of poverty in West Belfast. That made her very angry, but also very determined that there should be change. And throughout her life, and a life of 40 years of activism, as a trade unionist and as a civil rights campaigner, she was motivated by the need to end humiliation and to replace injustice with equality.
Great. And the film makes clear the connection between America and Ireland, obviously. So how is it showing that film for an American audience?
Well, this is the first time that it has been shown in America. It will be seen in New York and in DC next month in April. There are a number of screenings planned there. So I think it is important, because I think that for many Americans who know a little bit about what has been going on in Northern Ireland over the last 20 or 30 years, I think there are these sort of stories that are still to pop up. We know even in Northern Ireland it's still very difficult to pull out the nuances of what actually went on. There is a broad understanding that we had conflict, then we had peace, and now we've had many torturous years as the peace is bedded down. But I think that a lot of those personal stories of those who were involved in a way that may have been completely invisible, or may have been really there hiding in plain sight, and that Inez was someone that wasn't certainly invisible, but we weren't aware, we weren't able to actually pull apart exactly what she was doing. So whether it's a Northern Irish audience or an Irish audience, it was shown in Dublin some time ago in front of President Higgins, and got a very warm reception there as well, or an American audience. I think it's all we're trying to do is try to bring out that there are stories, and also about the American involvement. I mean, there's no doubt that people like Hillary Clinton, Milan Verveer and Joe Jamieson and a number of others were incredibly instrumental in bringing Northern Ireland to the peace that it's at now. And we still haven't been able to capture a lot of those stories. And Inez's untimely death and very early death reminds us that without those people who are getting older, we've got to very, very quickly try to capture that living history. And we felt that that's absolutely important to do so, and to bring it to an American audience. I think as we, today is a reflection, I think, of how educated and understanding people are about the generalities of the Irish peace process, but trying to foreground some of the key figures now is going to be really interesting, I think, and something that we really want to keep doing.
Yeah. And could you talk about the exchange that you had in front of the audience today?
What was that?
With the congressman?
Inez was invited by the Irish American Labour Coalition to come to the United States, and particularly to come to Massachusetts in support of the Sean McBride principles of affirmative action. And that was very, very important for her, and it allowed her to express her very deeply felt conviction that discrimination had to be tackled, and that the economic and social principles were exceptionally important. She presented the evidence at the Massachusetts State House in Boston, and Representative Kevin Blanchette allowed her to express her beliefs, and then that led on to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts becoming the first state in the United States to pass McBride legislation. And now McBride legislation is the law of the land in the United States.
And having Kevin there today, just to even come along, it's a very important moment. A really important moment.
Unbelievable. After 30 years, to meet with him again, to meet the figure that I only saw on a flickering videotape, VHS, poor quality videotape. It was an extraordinary moment for me on this trip.
Yeah, and to hear from Kevin some of the background to that moment and the pressure that he and others were coming under, not to give Inez McCormack a voice and not allow her to make this appeal to the state of Massachusetts. So, we knew that was what was happening in the British government, the Irish government, in fact, as well, were very much against Inez McCormack even speaking on that day, and being given a platform to try to progress the McBride principles. So for Kevin to be here and to finally meet with him, so we've looked at that little bit of footage. Vinny found that footage in his loft or something, and I think that it wasn't very good quality, and we couldn't find another source of it, but we wouldn't let it go because we think it there really is something that captures. There's a moment there that captures a passionate, articulate, driven, relentless woman, and and when you go back over someone's life like Inez, finding those little bits of evidence of that everyone knows and everyone lived, but was important. So Kevin's fantastic.
And I think that the record of that hearing is an important historical document.
It is, because the state of Massachusetts was the first state in the nation to back the McBride principles, and that started a ball rolling that still is felt today in the cities of Belfast and Derry and anywhere in Northern Ireland where there is inequality. The McBride principles are still a touchstone, important issue, because that was the first time an outside nation outside of Ireland and UK said, if you're going to come to America and look for our investment, you're going to have to make sure that everyone, Protestant, Catholic, or no religion, is going to benefit from that investment. And the British government certainly didn't want to hear that. Unionists definitely didn't want to hear it and very violently opposed it. But actually today, it's widespread now that equality, that you simply cannot hire on the basis of religion, and you cannot. You have to abide by the law of the land, as Vinny describes it, in terms of equality in the workplace.
Thank you so much for bringing this wonderful story to Boston.
Thank you.